question. As we go through these cases, we're going to find out that there are inscriptions written on the inside wall of the craft, on the exterior diameter of the craft. And so I'm thinking there must be a united coalition of linguistic experts, engineering experts, who are cataloging all of this hieroglyphic type writing and trying to interpret what this writing means. There has to be a group like this.
Absolutely.
There has to be a group like this.
Well, we need it if not. I mean,
yep.
This is a walking billboard. They're communicating with us.
That's correct. That's correct. Okay, we'll move on to the next one here. Now, we have enough information, and we can pretty much prove this, that part of the Roswell debris made its way to Battelle Memorial Institute because they're America's oldest defense contractor, 1920.
And we know this because why?
We know this because this is specifically mentioned in Ryan Wood's book, Magic Eyes Only, that specifically talks about Battelle Memorial Institute being involved in taking the retrieval of the debris of these crash retrievals, not only in Roswell, but others as well.
Now, this is interesting, and I'll be very honest. This is the first time I've ever heard of them because I don't know as much as you, Michael, but I hear about the other companies. I hear about the Air Force bases that have the UFO down crafts. I've never heard that these guys ended up with a bunch of stuff from Roswell.
Something we want to consider is that this whole concept of the UFO cover-up, the crash retrievals, it's not necessarily classified, but it's proprietary. And so what the government did long ago, and they were smart, they knew what they were doing. But basically what they did is they cut a dirty deal with the defense contractors. This is early on in all these crash retrievals. They did a dirty deal, and we're all paying for the price of this, is that they said, I don't care what you have to do, and you can take the technology, you can trickle it down to the commercial industry, you can make billions off of this. The only two things we want to know, number one, what is the propulsion system driving these craft? Number two, what is the free energy system involved in this so that we can actually reverse engineer the weapons advancement of these craft? That's all they really wanted to know.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, that sounds like the government, that's for sure. All right, let's keep going here.
Let's continue on here. So this is now the retrieval operation. This is basically into the very early morning hours of July 8th, 1947. Again, the bodies in the craft were sitting out there days before the military got there. And I also want to make the point is that by the time the military got involved, this story was burning up the streets of Roswell.
Sure.
The people of Roswell knew about this,
Sure.
and souvenir hunters drove up to the crash site, debris, were trying to get souvenirs.
So this illustration you're showing right here, is that the first explosion or is this the final
This
impact?
is the final resting place of the crash site.
So there's military at both locations at this point, I would assume.
They cordoned off the area for miles.
Really?
And they were sending people back, but it was already too late because people already got there.
Yeah.
They already, at the very least, they made it to the debris field, no doubt about that. And so what that means is, by default, this is the part I really love, there are people in Roswell living today that still have debris, that still have memory metal. They might still have I-beams. So if we could get to these people and they're willing to let this be tested, we could have a piece of physical evidence from the craft.
Goodness gracious.
Yes, we could. So what we're looking at here, full color rendering, basically signed off by Don Schmidt, who's the principal investigator with Tom Carey. You've got a 13-foot long egg-shaped craft. This is not a big craft. This is the size of a Volkswagen, no bigger than that. It's 13 feet across, egg-shaped with a low-rise dome. There was a hull breach on the side of the craft showing you the bodies that exited the craft. Now, the survivor off to the left is near the end of the ambulance truck. He was the survivor. He was seen by Dan Dwyer, who's the Roswell Fire Department person. He was there, drove up, and saw that survivor walking around.
So how does the fire department with military taking full control here, how does a fire department employee end up getting that close?
He was told to stand down, but he didn't. He drove up there and saw it. His testimony is reliable.
Okay.
Reliable. Now, they had an 18-wheeler tractor-trailer lowboy truck, and then, according to Don Schmidt, this whole operation took place within about 300 feet of a water tower and a windmill, and that's what you see right here.
Wow.
So again, this is July 8th, 1947. So let's go to the next slide here. And we want to talk about Major Jesse Marcel, okay? What he said, quote, "It certainly wasn't anything built by us." Intelligence officer, 509th Bomb Group, Major Jesse Marcel, we want to take his testimony to heart. And we'll move on to the next slide here. We want to go to the Roswell Army Airfield 1947 yearbook. Who do we find in this yearbook? Who do we want to focus in on this yearbook? We'll go to the next slide. Sergeant William W. Bud Taylor. And we've got an arrow that shows you this gentleman. This is all legitimate information here. We'll do a blow up to give you an idea of what he looks like. Sergeant William W. Bud Taylor. How does he play a role in this story here? Well, it turns out he was literally the only person that looked inside the hull breach of the Roswell craft. And I want to give you a world exclusive to give people an idea what it looked like on the inside.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to the next slide here. This is his testimony. Eyewitness testimony from a 509th Bomb Group member who looked inside the Roswell escape pod. This is Sergeant William W. Bud Taylor. So let's go through these bullet items here. The craft, Taylor said, quote, "seemed like it could have been from Earth, only from our future." That's interesting, right? That's interesting.
I can't even understand how you came up with that.
We'll talk about it. Next one. Certain areas of the interior of the craft were entwined with a network of strange plastic-like fibers or filaments, something that we would call like fiber optics today.
Sure.
Okay, next one. The interior was also outfitted with embedded flat screens or display panels.
Wow.
Okay, next one. An ethereal violet or pink purple color was incorporated into some of the materials of the construction of the craft. We've heard this on multiple UFO cases where they had a violet colored light. Okay, next one. Some of the craft structure was embossed with unusual hieroglyphic-like symbols that he described as being somewhat like Asian writing. And the last one here, there were bodies. Some small corpses were found that he described as being like little humans. So this is coming from a 509th Bomb Group member who was there on the scene.
Little humans.
Right.
This guy really witnessed and detailed so much in 30 seconds.
That's right.
Or maybe he had a little bit more time. And he's a sergeant. He's a sergeant, so we have to take him for his word. There's no reason why he would make this up.
No reason why. These were chosen. Remember, this is the 509th Bomb Group. This is the same organization that dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
And these quotes ended up where, Michael? Were they in the paper that he, where did it end up?
These I received from Tom Carey, who knew the family member who knew Bud Taylor, and I got that from Tom Carey.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So the family, so he told the family,
correct,
this is what I saw today.
All these guys are long since gone now. Okay. There are no 509th Bomb Group members living anymore. They're all gone. So in the sense of the government, it's cover-up complete. And so that's why it falls upon us to track down any remaining witnesses on any of these crash retrievals to preserve their story for history.
You know, one of the reasons I wanted to do this show, everybody, is American Foo Fighters, is because there's something big happening right now. We know that I would say USA, the government, I don't want to say the government, we're making them. And in that time, imagine getting this information, invest into fiber optics. If he would have said that to his family, they'd be billionaires. We get so much from these down crafts, so much technology, and that's why it's important to understand the history of where it's all leading to. All right, let's keep going.
Okay, let's keep going. So this is our rendering of looking inside. So we've got Bud Taylor looking inside the hull breach. We've got fiber optics. we've got bodies, we've got the hieroglyphic type lettering, we've got the flat screen monitors. Now, I sent this to Don Schmidt and Tom Carey. I sent this to them, and I got responses. I got errors. I got things that we could correct. So I thought, okay, what do we need to do to make this more historically correct? Again, this is an egg-shaped craft the size of a Volkswagen with a low-rise dome on top. So what we're looking at here was our first pass drawing done by Rudy, and he did a great job. He did a great job. However, the fixes are, it's too large in here. It should be smaller. It's only the size of a Volkswagen, and we're looking at the interior curved surface of an egg. So what we want to do is we want to make it half the size. Don Schmidt told me that the hull breach was not vertical, but horizontal, okay? Again, that's another correction. So let's take the bodies out. Let's make the hull breach horizontal. Let's add more fiber optics. Let's take away one flat screen monitor. We'll go to the next illustration. Now we're getting much closer.
Wow, look at
this
that.
is, I believe, to the best of my ability, and Rudy, a world exclusive on what it looked like and the interior of this craft. And you've got Bud Taylor looking in. He's shocked. He can't believe what he's looking at.
It looks like a chip inside a cell phone.
It does.
You know,
It kind of does.
Look at that.
Something like this was seen by Bud Taylor back in 1947.
It's interesting the size of a Volkswagen.
Yes.
And is that what they're saying at that time?
Yeah.
Like they're actually comparing it because Volkswagen was around?
This is a terminology that Don Schmidt used.
Okay.
He absolutely said that this was an egg-shaped craft. It had a low-rise dome, and it was, according to Don Schmidt, the size of a Volkswagen. That was his terminology.
Which could probably, no, you can't even compare it to a Tic Tac today because Tic Tacs, a lot of military personnel keep saying they're about 40 feet long.
Bigger.
Yeah,
bigger,
much
different
bigger.
configuration.
Yeah, but they have that shape.
They kind of do. Yes,
know,
they do.
so, all right,
They
let's
do.
keep
Okay,
going.
we'll keep going here. So, of course, I started digging. I wanted to make sure Bud Taylor is the man who he said he was, okay, that he was actually there. So this is the El Paso Times, May 9th, 1985 obituary. Services for W.F. Bud Taylor, 87 of Roswell, will be at 10 a.m. Friday in the First Church of the Nazarene. So, yes, it is the guy. It is correct. This is the man.
Wow.
So we know that he was 509th Bomb Group member. Okay, we'll continue on here. So we want to take a look at the testimony of this gentleman, Ernst Steinhoff. He was number 2 through Operation Paperclip, just below Werner von Braun. He was familiar with the Roswell craft and the bodies. What did he say? What did he say? The Roswell craft was not extraterrestrial, it was extra-dimensional. That's the first thing we want to consider here, extra-dimensional. Now let's go to another person here. U.S. Navy Commander George W. Hoover, seated left. What did he say? Because he had a heads up on this. What did he say? The Roswell visitors were not extraterrestrial, but actually extratemporal from our future.
Why do they keep saying this?
Yeah, yep.
I mean, this is a brilliant man. If he's number 2 to who you just suggested, who ended up working for the United States and helped develop all our rockets and stuff, this is a brilliant mind. This is a guy who's not going to make stuff up here.
This is not a completely new understanding of the Roswell crash retrieval operation, but the concept of the bodies being extratemporal from our future is slightly more of a corrected understanding, and that's what we're going with now. That appears to be what we're dealing, because this is what Bud Taylor had said. He said that it was modern looking, but it looked like it could have been from our future. So that tracks with what the witness is talking about.
You know, when he says it could be from our future, it seems like they know something.
Yeah.
They are seeing something that, you know, they know something. Like, oh my gosh, you know what? We were working on that. Or it looks like, you know, something
Right.
that we could get done in 10 years or 12 years from where we're at or developing. So that's my thought.
So what do we have now? We have curved flat screen monitors that you can buy for $1.298.
Yeah.
You've got fiber optics.
Sure.
You've got fully integrated craft. You've got things that look like they were done on a 3D printer without any fasteners. So you can see the trickle-down technologies made it into the commercial off-the-shelf industry.
Okay,
That's
and-
what we're looking at now.
Okay.
Okay, we'll continue on.
for the jelly time.